today, and then we will be going to Finance Committee. I think that's whenever that's scheduled. So
Okay.
those are the committees that we're hitting.
You may save that when you get two
Scott,
of us
you
here.
say
Yeah, that's right. We got
Councilman,
two
I
of
don't
them.
think see it twice.
You can
Yes.
see it 2 times.
You got two
Alright.
Scotts here, so you, but I'm just saying that just leaves Susan.
Yeah. So this is an additional slide that I did throw in, and I wanted to put this in here just to show how the Public Works Capital Improvement Program has really grown, really taken off over the last several years. More than doubled since FY14. And just we're really making some positive progress in the city with these programs. A lot of those extra dollars come from our Paving for Progress program and our flood control system. But we have a lot of projects going on. Right now we have about 45 projects that are actively under construction, and that represents about a $70 million investment. So lots of work going on, lots of positive work going on in the city. This just goes through basically what a change order is and what the triggers are. Change orders are really a normal part, really a necessary part of the construction process. It gives us that document that we need to document changes to project cost and schedule throughout the project. And we actually do budget for each one of our projects. We budget a contingency. Our standard is 10% in anticipation of potential changes that we might have. So when these change orders are coming up, it's not that we have not planned for a little bit of movement inside those projects. We do have the dollars available inside those projects when up to that contingency amount. We do that for each one of our projects when they're awarded. Construction change orders can be owner-initiated or contractor-initiated. Sometimes our own staff sees something going on a project. We think we can attack a situation better, put a better product in place. So we're going to take advantage of that at that time and make that decision. Sometimes it's the contractor saying, hey, we got a better way to do this. This is an idea, and they'll put in a request for that change order. The change orders can result in an increase or decrease in cost or schedule. I believe you guys have seen those both on the council agendas. We can go both ways with those. And there's all kinds of triggers. There's 4 of them listed here that are more of the common triggers that we see. Unknown or unforeseen site conditions, very common, especially with underground infrastructure. A lot of times we don't know what we're getting into until we actually put a bucket in the ground and expose what's underground. Material substitution is another one. An owner requested change, we talked about that. And then the other one is the errors or omissions in contract documents, which is when there's something that we missed in a contract document and we need to add it to the project in order to complete it.
Have you tracked the percentages in each of those categories?
So that's a question that we actually got a development committee also.
Right.
And right now we do not have the ability to do that in an organized fashion, but it's a project we've been working on with the finance department. We've been looking at assigning reason codes to the different change orders. And one change order may have multiple reasons. So you might have a change order that has a percentage that is an unforeseen site condition and a percentage that is an error and omission. So we've been looking at coming up with a way that is easily tracked and reported. We don't want to just willy-nilly be writing it down. So we've been trying to come up with a way that we hope to have that here over the next year so that we can report that, because that's valuable information to us. This just guides you through the basic process that the change order goes through as it flows through the city. So the request is initiated by the contractor or owner. That can be as simple as a formal email or a letter. That's what initiates it. So then the calculation of cost and schedule impact. A lot of times that's the contractor providing us, here's what it's going to cost you to make this change. Here's the impact of the schedule. That's our first proposal. That comes in-house to our in-house project manager in the construction department. And each one of our CIP projects has a project manager assigned to it in our construction department, as well as an inspector. And they really work through the justification at that time. They look at the numbers, they look at the schedule impacts. We sometimes have unit prices already established for what work they're going to do. In that case, we can use those unit prices. If the quantity is changing significantly, our specifications do give us the opportunity to renegotiate those prices. And we also look at historical historical bid tabs and bid history for all the bids that we have in the city, plus we can reference what the DOT has bid over the past several years. There's all kinds of resources that we can look to make a comparison. Most of the change orders are pretty standard. It's work that we see all the time. It's more rock, we need more rock under the pavement. We need a few more feet of storm sewer here. That's generally what we see, so those are really easy. If it's a more complicated item, we might be calling out to suppliers to get quotes from them and figure out what, if we're in the ballpark there. Once that agreement is made informally between the contractor and our project manager in our construction department, we actually have a work change directive that goes out, and that's signed by city construction staff and the contractor. That's really our point where we're saying we're okay with the price and we're okay with the schedule changes. That then gets documented in a formal change order, multiple checkpoints for that. That goes through the contractor again, the contract administrator, which is our project manager in-house, the construction manager, which is Justin, myself, the contracts manager in finance, Randy Hartman right now, and then city manager, and then ultimately the city council. The other sign-off point that we have with any federal aid contract is that the DOT has to sign off on that change order before we can proceed with it. And then once that goes through city council, it's incorporated in the contract, and the actual contract value changes, and we can, if we're adding days, we can add those days or subtract days from the contract. This is a little bit of history. This was actually, we pulled this data, I think September 18th, so it's a little bit dated now, but at that point in time, completed projects since January 1st, 2015. We have completed 194 projects, and you can see the total awarded value and the final contract value, which results in a 1.9% increase. Of course, we have projects that are way over that, and we have projects that are way under that. But from a dollar standpoint for our CIP program, that's where the average has been since the beginning of 2015, which is really where we have, it's kind of a good stop point where we can find good records. The staff has been here for that long.
So since you're budgeting 10%, then at the end of the year, you then see what's left in the pot, and that goes back into next year's programs?
Yes, so if we have additional, sometimes we have to, if a project happens to go over that contingency, we do have to cover that with those additional funds, possibly from other projects, but many times then it will get transferred into our reserves, and then that will be cash on hand that we can use for projects in our CIP program in upcoming years.
Okay.
So as a change order, also where, as you're going through the project, you end up figuring out, gee, this isn't going to cost as much. And there's certain things that we priced into the thing, but then we figure out we don't need to do as much of this or that. Does it go in that direction too?
It does, yeah. And one good thing to note with that comment is we will see a change order on every single project. Because when we go to close out a project, the way that our finances work here, we have to reconcile that balance at the end. And it never turns out to be exactly what we planned. So no matter what, even if we have to do a $50 change order at the end, so that what we paid out and what was budgeted is the same, we still have to do that. So every project we will see a change order, for sure.
Because, can I just jump in?
Yeah.
A lot of our contracts are measured in like quantities. So, you might be estimating off of your plans that you're going to put in 50.2 feet of storm sewer, and if you put in 50.3, you're not allowed to change order. We don't do storm sewer at 10 a foot, but it doesn't take a lot to cause that. I think also that that 1.9% is well below the industry standard, and I think we hear a lot that there are a lot of change orders within these projects. And I think if you look at the number of projects and the total number of dollars that we're dealing with, that 1.9% is a very low number, and certainly below the industry standard that we're used to seeing. I think also something in the city of Cedar Rapids that is different from most cities is most cities do not put every single change order on a job in front of council. So a lot of times cities will manage those change orders within the project, and as long as you're staying within that contingency, that's generally anywhere from 5 to 15% depending on the city. You might see like one final number at the end. So you might see and approval for the final contract amount at the end, but council, a lot of times, a lot of cities doesn't see all of those day-to-day change orders.
We process ours individually.
We process ours individually, so you see every single change order on a project, even if it's for $5, you're gonna see it.
Okay, thank you. I think that's good information. So,
Yeah.
like I say, the finance committee, is Susie on development? Susie? Who's on development?
And,
Yeah, so Susie, yeah, is the only one, yeah, because it's fine, we can bring it to the finance, I think that's fine.
And if you guys ever have any questions on change orders, feel free to reach out.
No, I think that's a good update, because we do get that question, you know, and we see it in articles, why do we allow change orders? And again, I think on the bidding process, we're required to take the lowest responsive and responsible bid.
We are.
And so, if there is something found, that's why we do the unit prices, so that we can control some of those, and utility work versus building work or types of things, which is a little more difficult.